The lights of Nexus Station gleamed like a small galaxy against the darkness of space. Ambassador Chen Wei stood at the observation window of the human transport ship, watching the massive structure grow larger as they approached. The station was ancient, built by civilizations that had mastered space travel while humans were still figuring out bronze tools. It was beautiful, terrifying, and utterly alien. "We're being hailed," said Captain Morrison from the pilot's seat. "They're ready for us." Chen adjusted her formal diplomatic robes and took a deep breath. Beside her, Admiral Sarah Okonkwo checked her sidearm out of habit, though weapons were technically forbidden in the council chambers. "Technically? How do you want to play this?" Okonkwo asked quietly. "Honestly," Chen replied. "They summoned us. Let them speak first." The docking procedures took 20 minutes. The station's interior was even more impressive than its exterior, with corridors that seemed to bend space itself, and walls that shifted colors based on who walked past them. Automated guides led the human delegation through passages filled with aliens of every description. Some walked on 2 legs, others on 4 or 6. Some breathed oxygen, others methane or ammonia behind containment fields. All of them stopped to stare at the humans. Chen had been Earth's ambassador to the Galaxy Council for 3 years. She knew that look. It was not respect. It was the look adults gave to children who had wandered into a room where they did not belong. The council chamber was a massive, spherical room, with seats arranged in concentric circles. 47 species had permanent seats on the council. Humanity had observer status only, a position given to new species who were still learning their place in the galaxy. The chamber could hold thousands, but today only the council members and their immediate staff were present. The human delegation was shown to a small platform near the bottom of the sphere. At the top, in the most prominent position, sat Thexnor of the Kalthari. His species had been spacefaring for over 30,000 years. He was ancient even by their standards, his crystalline body showing the deep purple color of extreme age. When he spoke, his voice came through translators mounted throughout the chamber. "The council recognizes the human delegation," Thexnor said. His tone made it clear this was not a welcome. "Ambassador Chen Wei, you have been summoned to answer for your species' violations of established boundaries." Chen stepped forward. "The council has our attention. Please specify the violations you reference." A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, showing a 3-dimensional map of human space. Red markers indicated human colonies. There were 31 of them, spread across 12 light-years of territory. "These colonies," Thexnor continued, "have been established in regions designated as disputed territory. The Council has maintained these buffer zones for over 4,000 years to prevent conflicts between younger species. Your kind has ignored these boundaries repeatedly." "With respect," Chen said carefully, "humanity was not informed these regions were restricted when we began our expansion. Our colony ships found uninhabited systems with suitable worlds. We settled them according to standard colonization protocols established by the Council itself." A murmur ran through the chamber. Several council members leaned toward each other, speaking in low tones. "Ignorance is not an excuse," another council member spoke up. This was Dalvik of the Consortium, an insectoid species known for their rigid adherence to law. "The boundaries have existed longer than your species has had written language. Your failure to discover them before colonizing is your failing, not ours." Okonkwo's hand tightened on her belt, but she said nothing. Chen kept her expression neutral. "If the council has concerns," Chen said, "we are willing to discuss compromises, perhaps shared governance of certain systems or modified boundaries that acknowledge existing settlements." "There will be no compromise," Thexnor said flatly. "The council has deliberated on this matter for 6 standard months. We have reached a unanimous decision. Humanity will evacuate all colonies beyond the Sol system within 90 days. Any humans remaining after that deadline will be forcibly removed and their settlements dismantled." The chamber fell silent. Chen felt every eye upon her. This was the moment that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. She could accept, show humility, bow to the will of elder species who claimed to know better. That was what they expected. That was what every other young species had done when faced with the Council's authority. Chen thought of the families on New Harmony, the children who had been born under alien suns who knew no other home, the farmers on Redemption, who had turned barren soil into fertile fields, the engineers on Hope's Landing who had built a city from nothing but determination and sweat. "No," Chen said simply. The murmur that ran through the chamber now was not quiet. It was shock, pure and absolute. You refuse? Thexnor leaned forward in his seat. You understand what you are saying? I understand perfectly, Chen replied. Her voice was steady, loud enough to carry throughout the chamber. Earth recognizes no authority over human settlements established in unclaimed space. Our colonies will not be abandoned. Our people will not be displaced. If the Council has evidence that we have seized systems belonging to other species, present it now. Otherwise, this ultimatum is nothing more than bullying. Bullying. Dalvik's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation. The Council maintains order throughout the galaxy. We have prevented wars, ended conflicts, and guided younger species toward peaceful coexistence for 12,000 years. I dare to stand up for my people, Chen interrupted. It was a breach of protocol to interrupt a council member, but she was past caring about protocol. You speak of 12,000 years of peace. Do you know what that tells me? It tells me you've forgotten what it means to fight for something. You've grown comfortable in your power. You've mistaken age for wisdom and tradition for justice. Thexnor rose from his seat. His crystalline body seemed to glow with inner light. You are young. Your species achieved faster than light travel barely 20 years ago. You have no understanding of the complexities of galactic politics. The Council's decision is final. If you refuse to comply, we will enforce our will through corrective measures. Corrective measures, Chen repeated. She smiled, and it was not a pleasant smile. You mean war? Say it clearly. You are threatening Earth with military action if we do not abandon our colonies. If necessary. Yes, Thexnor said. Admiral Okonkwo stepped forward to stand beside Chen. She had remained silent throughout the exchange, but now she spoke for the first time. Her voice was hard as steel. Then let me be equally clear, Okonkwo said. If the Council sends military forces against human colonies, Earth will consider it an act of war. And unlike you, we remember what war means, Chen nodded. She looked up at the assembled Council members, at the representatives of species who had ruled the galaxy for millennia. They looked down at her with expressions of shock, anger, and something else. Something they had not felt in a very long time. Uncertainty. We came to the stars in peace, Chen said. We joined the galactic community with open hearts and open minds. We respected your laws, learned your customs, and tried to be good neighbors. But we will not be threatened. We will not abandon our people, and we will not bow to ultimatums from those who have forgotten that peace is a choice, not a guarantee. She turned to leave, then paused and looked back over her shoulder. You have 90 days to reconsider your decision, she said. After that, if you send ships to our colonies, you'll get your answer. And I promise you it's not the answer you're expecting. The human delegation left the chamber in silence. Behind them, the Council erupted into chaos. The message from Nexus Station reached Earth 12 hours after the confrontation. By the time it arrived, every human colony, station, and ship in space had already heard what Ambassador Chen had said. The recordings had spread through human networks like wildfire. People gathered in public squares, in homes, in the corridors of orbital habitats to watch their ambassador tell the oldest powers in the galaxy that humanity would not be moved. The reaction was not panic. It was rage. In Geneva, the United Earth Council met in emergency session. Representatives from every nation and colony stood as President Amanda Okafor entered the chamber. She was a small woman with gray hair and gentle eyes that hid a will of pure iron. She had led Earth through the tumultuous early years of galactic contact, and now she would lead them through whatever came next. They think we'll fold, she said without preamble. The Council believes we're like every other species they've bullied into submission. They think fear of their ancient fleets and superior technology will make us abandon 31 colonies and over 6 million people. They're wrong. Defense Minister Kumar stood next. He was younger than Okafor, a former general who had retired to civilian service only to be pulled back when the Council's ultimatum arrived. He activated a holographic display that showed the Sol system and all human colonies beyond it. What the Council doesn't know, Kumar said, is that we never stopped preparing for this day. When we made first contact 23 years ago, we hoped for peace. But hope is not a strategy, so while we sent diplomats and scientists to learn about the galaxy, we also sent soldiers and engineers to prepare for war. He pressed a control, and the holographic display changed. The civilian colonies suddenly showed additional structures that had been hidden from orbital scans. Weapon platforms, shield generators, underground bunkers that could house entire populations. Every colony had them. Project Ragnarok, Kumar continued. For 20 years we've been building a military infrastructure in secret. Every colony ship that left Earth carried weapons and soldiers disguised as farmers and teachers. Every mining operation in the asteroid belt doubled as a weapons manufacturing facility. Every supposedly peaceful research station was also testing new military technologies. The display zoomed in on New Harmony, the closest colony to Council space. Beneath the farms and cities, a massive network of tunnels held enough supplies to survive a siege lasting years. Hidden in the asteroid field nearby, 60 stealth warships waited in cold storage. Their systems shut down to avoid detection. The Council's intelligence is good, but it's not perfect, said Dr. Amira Bashir, head of the Ragnarok Research Division. She was a thin woman with intense eyes who had spent 2 decades designing weapons specifically to kill aliens. They've studied us, but they've studied the version of humanity we wanted them to see. Peaceful, eager to learn. Maybe a little aggressive in our expansion, but nothing threatening. She pulled up schematics of weapon systems. What they haven't seen is this. Railguns that fire projectiles at 30% the speed of light. The Council's standard energy shields are designed to stop plasma weapons and particle beams. They're useless against solid projectiles moving that fast. Nuclear-pumped lasers that output more energy than most alien ships can generate in their entire reactor cores. Cyber warfare packages designed to exploit weaknesses we've found in every major Council species' computer systems. General Marcus Joe, the director of Project Ragnarok, stepped forward. He was old enough to remember when humanity had still been fighting wars among themselves, before the dream of space unity had taken hold. He remembered what war cost, and he had made sure Earth would never pay that price at alien hands. The Council species haven't fought a real war in thousands of years, Joe said. They've had skirmishes, disputes settled by limited engagements with rules both sides agreed to follow. They fight like sports teams playing a game. We fight like we've always fought. To win, to survive, to make the other side regret ever challenging us. President Okafor listened to the presentations with a grave expression. Finally she spoke. The cost? Tell me the real cost if we go to war with the Council. Joe didn't hesitate. Worst case scenario. They mobilize their full military might and come at us with everything. We can hold the Sol system. We can protect our colonies. But we'll take heavy casualties. Millions dead, possibly tens of millions. Best case. They send limited forces expecting easy victories. We bloody their noses badly enough that the Council fractures, and we negotiate from a position of strength. And if we back down? If we evacuate the colonies as demanded? Then we've shown them we can be pushed. They'll push again. And again. Until humanity is confined to Sol and they control every aspect of our expansion. We'll be pets, subjects, never equals. Okafor nodded slowly. She looked around the chamber at the representatives of Earth's nations and colonies. You've all heard the briefing. This decision affects everyone. I want to know what you think. The vote was unanimous. Not a single voice spoke for surrender. Then we're agreed, Okafor said. Admiral Okonkwo, you have operational command. Execute Phase 1 of Ragnarok. Across human space, the orders went out on encrypted channels that the Council didn't even know existed. On every colony, civilian administrators stepped aside as military commanders took control. Families moved into underground shelters that they had always been told were for asteroid impacts or reactor failures. Now they learned the truth. On New Harmony, Colony Administrator turned Commander James Okoye addressed his people via emergency broadcast. For 20 years you've built homes here. You've raised children, grown crops, and created something beautiful from an empty world. The Council wants to take that away. They think we'll run because they're old and powerful. They've forgotten something important. Every human being standing on this colony is here because our ancestors looked at impossible odds and said, I can do better. We terraformed a planet. We built cities on worlds where nothing had ever lived. We came from a species that climbed out of caves to reach the stars in a cosmic blink of an eye. And now they want us to be afraid? He paused and his voice hardened. Let them come. Let them send their fleets and their threats. We're going dark in 1 hour. No communications, no signals, nothing that tells them what we're really doing. When they arrive expecting to evacuate frightened civilians, they're going to find soldiers. And they're going to learn why humans have never, ever stopped being good at war. The colonies went silent one by one. Luna Command, Mars Central, New Harmony, Redemption, Hope's Landing. All 31 human settlements beyond Earth stopped transmitting. From the Council's perspective, it looked like humanity was complying, shutting down in preparation for evacuation. Admiral Okonkwo knew better. From her command center deep beneath Luna's surface, she watched status reports flow in. Every colony reported ready. Every hidden weapons platform was operational. Every stealth ship was crewed and waiting. Dr. Bashir approached her with a tablet showing the latest intelligence from their agents in Council space. "They're taking the silence as submission," she said. "Thexanor is already preparing a fleet to oversee the evacuation. Just 200 ships. He thinks it's overkill for a species that's surrendering." Okonkwo smiled grimly. 200 ships. Any idea where they're heading first? New Harmony. It's the closest colony to Council space. They'll make an example of it. Good, Okonkwo said. Commander Okoye has been waiting for this his whole life. The Council is about to learn that the scariest thing in the galaxy isn't the oldest species or the most advanced technology. It's a human being defending their home. She opened a communication channel to all human military forces. "This is Admiral Okonkwo. The Council thinks they're coming to oversee an evacuation. They're wrong. They're coming to a battlefield. And on that battlefield, we're going to teach them something their ancient history has let them forget. War isn't a game. It's not a sport with rules. It's survival. And nobody survives like humans. Prepare for contact. Make Earth proud." Across human space, soldiers who had pretended to be civilians for years finally dropped the act. In the asteroid belt around New Harmony, 60 warships powered up their systems for the first time in years. Commander Okoye stood in his command center and watched the tactical displays light up with green icons. His home, his people, his fight, the Council was coming, and humanity was ready. Fleet Commander Zareth of the Vryn Collective had served in the Council's peacekeeping forces for 300 years. In all that time, he had never fired a weapon in anger. There had never been a need. Species that defied the Council quickly learned the futility of resistance when faced with the might of civilizations that had mastered space travel before most of them had discovered fire. His fleet of 200 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Harmony system. The planet hung in space ahead of them, a beautiful blue-green world that humans had spent 20 years terraforming. Around it, orbital stations and satellites formed a thin network of civilization. Everything looked quiet, peaceful, abandoned. "Scan the system," Zareth ordered. "I want locations of all human vessels and concentrations of life signs on the surface." His sensor officer worked for several minutes before looking up with confusion. "Commander, the colony appears to be operating on minimal power. Life support is active in the underground sections, but surface cities show no activity. Orbital infrastructure is on standby mode. I'm detecting no military vessels at all." "They've already evacuated," Zareth's second officer suggested. Perhaps the ambassador's defiance was just pride. Maybe they realized they couldn't actually resist. Zareth wasn't so sure. He had watched the recording of Ambassador Chen's speech to the Council. That woman had not spoken like someone preparing to surrender, but the evidence before him suggested otherwise. "Send a communication to the colony," he ordered. "Inform them that Council forces are here to oversee the orderly evacuation of all personnel. We're prepared to provide transport for anyone who needs it." The message was sent. No response came back. "Try again," Zareth said. A prickle of unease ran down his spine. Something felt wrong. 3 more attempts. Silence from the colony. "Commander," his tactical officer spoke up. "I'm picking up some unusual readings from the asteroid belt. Might be debris, but the thermal signatures are odd." "Investigate," Zareth ordered. "Send a squadron to check it out, and prepare landing parties for the colony. If they're not going to communicate, we'll go down there and find out what's happening." That was when everything went wrong. The asteroid belt exploded with activity. What had looked like cold debris suddenly lit up with active power signatures. 60 contacts appeared on the tactical display, moving fast, heading straight for the Council fleet. "Ships," the sensor officer shouted. Human warships, they were hiding in the asteroids with their systems shut down. Our sensors couldn't detect them. "All ships, defensive formation," Zareth ordered. His crew moved with practiced efficiency, but there was no panic. They were professionals, And the humans were outnumbered more than 3-1. Raise shields, charge weapons. Prepare to disable the approaching vessels. Remember, we're here to enforce evacuation, not to destroy. Target their engines and weapon systems only. The human ships came in fast, faster than Zareth had expected. They were smaller than Council vessels, but they moved with aggressive purpose, no hesitation at all. The lead ship fired first. Zareth's flagship shuddered as something impacted their shields. But there was no plasma bloom, no energy discharge that his sensors could detect. The shields were still up, still functioning, but there was another impact. And another. What are they firing? He demanded. Solid projectiles, his tactical officer reported with disbelief. They're shooting metal slugs at us. Primitive kinetic weapons. Our shields can't stop them, the sensor officer added, his voice rising in panic. The shields are designed for energy weapons. These things are just punching straight through. Another impact shook the ship. Zareth watched in horror as alarms began blaring across the bridge. Hull breaches. Reactor damage. One of their weapons arrays had been completely destroyed by a chunk of metal, moving at a significant fraction of light speed. Return fire, he ordered. All ships engage. The Council fleet opened up with plasma cannons and particle beams, the standard armaments that had kept peace in the galaxy for millennia. They lit up space with colorful destruction, hitting the human ships again and again. But the humans kept coming. Their shields absorbed some hits, redirected others, and when shields failed, the ships just kept fighting. Zareth had never seen such aggressive tactics. These humans fought like they had nothing to lose. More impacts hammered his fleet. Ships began breaking apart, their hulls pierced by projectiles that carried enough kinetic energy to punch through meters of armor. On his tactical display, friendly icons began winking out. 5 ships destroyed, 10, 20. They're everywhere, his second officer shouted. They're not fighting in formation, they're fighting like predators, each ship hunting independently. It was true. The human ships didn't maintain the orderly battle lines that Council doctrine demanded. They weaved through Zareth's fleet like sharks through a school of fish, picking off targets using the Council ships themselves as cover from return fire. It was chaos. It was barbaric, it was effective. Pull back, Zareth ordered. All ships retreat to the edge of the system. We need to regroup. But the humans weren't letting them retreat. The attacks intensified. More ships died. Zareth's own flagship took another hit that penetrated deep into the engineering section. Lights flickered across the bridge. Commander Okoye sends his regards. A message came through in clear Council standard language. Welcome to New Harmony. We hope your stay is brief and fatal. Zareth felt something he hadn't experienced in 3 centuries of service. Fear. Pure, cold fear. Emergency faster than light, jump, he ordered. All surviving ships execute emergency protocols. We're leaving. His navigation officer worked frantically. We need another 2 minutes to charge the jump drives. We don't have 2 minutes. Zareth watched as another 5 ships vanished from his tactical display. The bridge shook again. Warnings blared. They were losing power to the main systems. If they didn't jump soon, they wouldn't jump at all. Drives charged. Navigation called out. Jump now. The fleet scattered, each ship jumping to pre-programmed safe coordinates outside the system. Zareth's flagship lurched sickeningly as space twisted around them, and then they were free, hanging in empty space light years from New Harmony. Status report, Zareth said quietly. His voice sounded hollow even to himself. The reports came in slowly, each one worse than the last. Of the 200 ships he'd brought to oversee a simple evacuation, only 60 had escaped. 140 ships destroyed in less than 20 minutes of combat. Over 30,000 Council personnel dead or missing. Get me a channel to the Council, Zareth said. Immediately. When Thexnor's hologram appeared, the ancient Kalthari looked impatient. Commander Zareth, I expected a report on the successful evacuation by now. Why are you... He stopped, seeing the damage visible on the bridge behind Zareth. What happened? The humans happened, Zareth said. His hands were shaking. He couldn't make them stop. They were waiting for us. They ambushed us with weapons we've never encountered, solid projectiles moving at relativistic speeds. Our shields were useless. Our weapons barely scratched them. They slaughtered us, silence from Thexnor. Then, how many ships did you lose? 140. The hologram flickered as if Thexnor's shock was disrupting the transmission. That's impossible. You had overwhelming numerical superiority. They're a primitive species barely capable of basic spaceflight. They're not primitive, Zareth said flatly. They've been lying to us. Everything we thought we knew about human military capabilities was wrong. They've been preparing for this, for war, and they're good at it, better than we are. Back on New Harmony, Commander Okoye stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the council vessels flee. Around him, his crew cheered and embraced each other. They'd done it. They'd defended their home against overwhelming numbers. Casualties? Okoye asked. 7 ships damaged, 2 severely. No ships destroyed. 14 crew dead, 43 wounded. Okoye closed his eyes briefly. 14 families would get the worst news any family could receive. But they'd saved millions. The colony was safe. The people who'd built lives here could keep those lives. Send a message to Admiral Okonkwo, he said. New Harmony held. The Council's fleet has been driven off. We're ready for whatever comes next. He looked at the planet below, at the cities and farms where families were emerging from shelters, looking up at the sky where their defenders had just won an impossible victory. This was what humans did. They built homes in impossible places. They fought for those homes with everything they had. And they won. Message to all colony defenses, Okoye continued. The Council knows now. They'll come back with more ships next time. But we've proven something today. We've proven that humans don't surrender our homes. We don't back down from threats. And we sure as hell don't lose. The crew cheered again. Okoye let them have their moment. They'd earned it. But in the back of his mind, he knew this was just the beginning. The Council had lost one battle. They wouldn't accept that. They'd come back with everything they had, and when they did, humanity would be ready. The emergency session of the Galaxy Council had been going for 6 hours, and the shouting showed no signs of stopping. Thexnor stood at the center of the chamber, his crystalline body glowing with barely contained fury. Around him, representatives of 47 species argued, accused, and demanded action. 140 ships. Dalvik's mandibles clicked rapidly. The largest military loss the Council has suffered in 4,000 years, and you want to tell us it was a simple ambush? It was treachery, Thexnor said. The humans pretended to surrender. They went silent, let us think they were evacuating, then attacked without warning. This is exactly why younger species need our guidance. They're too barbaric to understand civilized warfare. Ambassador Kriya of the Sultan Union stood up. She was a tall, graceful being, whose species had been part of the Council for 8,000 years. Her voice was calm, which made it cut through the chaos more effectively than shouting. With respect, Representative Thexnor, what part of our actions could be called civilized? We demanded that 6 million humans abandon their homes. We sent a military fleet to enforce that demand. The humans defended themselves. How is that treachery? They should have submitted to Council authority. Another representative shouted. Why? Kriya asked simply. What gives us the right to displace millions of sentient beings from worlds they legally settled? Because we're older? Because we've always done things a certain way? I've been reading the human colonization records. They followed every protocol we established. They settled unclaimed systems. They caused no harm to other species. Our only complaint is that they expanded faster than we're comfortable with. They're dangerous, Thexnor insisted. You've seen the battle reports. They have weapons technology we didn't know existed. They've been hiding their true military capabilities while pretending to be peaceful. That's deception, or prudence, Kriya countered. They're a species barely 2 decades into galactic civilization, facing a council of elder species who clearly consider them inferior. Why wouldn't they maintain a defensive capability? We would do the same in their position. We have done the same, all of us, at various points in our histories. The argument continued. Intelligence officers presented their findings to the Council, and each finding made the situation worse. Humanity's colonies were not the simple settlements they'd appeared to be. Every single one was a fortress. Human ships were equipped with weapons that bypassed Council defensive technology completely. Worst of all, humans had spies, agents embedded within Council space, some for years, feeding information back to Earth. How did we miss this? Dalvik demanded. Our intelligence networks are the finest in the galaxy. The intelligence chief, a being from the Xerxian Dominion, looked uncomfortable. The humans are very good at deception, Representative. They presented themselves as eager students, wanting to learn everything about galactic civilization. They asked questions, studied our technologies, absorbed our tactics. We thought they were just trying to catch up to our level. We didn't realize they were looking for weaknesses. Every weakness, the chief continued, pulling up detailed reports. They know how our shield technology works and designed weapons to bypass it. They know how our faster-than-light communication systems operate and have proven they can intercept and decrypt our messages. They know the psychological profiles of multiple council species. One report I found suggests they've been wargaming scenarios for fighting each of us individually, and all of us together. Silence fell over the chamber. The implications were staggering. They've been planning to fight us from the beginning, someone said quietly, or planning to defend themselves if we proved hostile, Kriya said. Which we have now done. Thexnor's glow intensified. The council must respond decisively. We cannot allow a single species to defy our authority and attack our forces without consequences. I propose we mobilize the full military might of the council. 3,000 ships drawn from every member species. We strike at the heart of human space. We hit Earth itself. We show them that resistance is futile. You want to attack their homeworld? Kriya looked horrified. That's genocide, not peacekeeping. It's justice, Thexnor said coldly. And it's necessary. If we don't crush the humans now, others will follow their example. Every species we've guided, every boundary we've maintained, every conflict we've prevented, all of it depends on species respecting council authority. The humans have shown they don't. We must make an example of them. The chamber erupted again. Some supported Thexnor's proposal, others were horrified by it. Kriya tried to speak over the chaos, urging negotiation, compromise, anything but all-out war. She was shouted down. The vote was called. 23 species voted to authorize military action against Earth. 18 voted against. 6 abstained. The council has spoken, Thexnor announced. Assemble the armada. We strike in 30 days. After the session ended, Kriya retreated to her private quarters. She sat in the darkness for a long time thinking. She had been part of the council for 200 years, representing her people with honor. She believed in the council's mission, in the peace it maintained, in the order it brought to a chaotic galaxy. But this was wrong. Everything about this situation was wrong. She activated a secure communication channel, one that wouldn't be monitored by council intelligence. It took 3 tries before her call was answered. Ambassador Chen Wei appeared on the screen. She looked tired but alert. Ambassador Kriya, I wasn't expecting to hear from you. I'm calling on an unofficial basis, Kriya said carefully. What I'm about to tell you could be considered treason against the council. But I believe you deserve to know. The council has voted to send 3,000 ships to attack Earth directly. The fleet will depart in 30 days. Chen's expression didn't change, but Kriya saw her grip the edge of her desk tightly. 3,000 ships. Against Earth itself. Thexnor wants to make an example of humanity, Kriya continued. He believes that if he destroys your homeworld, it will show other species what happens when they defy the council. I think he's wrong. I think he's leading us toward a war we'll regret. But I couldn't stop the vote. Why are you telling me this? Chen asked. Because this is wrong, Kriya said simply. Your people settled empty worlds. You've harmed no one. The council's ultimatum was unjust, and the attack they're planning is worse than unjust. It's monstrous. I can't be part of it without at least warning you. Chen was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. Thank you, Ambassador. I won't forget this. There's more, Kriya said. Not all council species support this war. 18 of us voted against it. 6 more abstained, and I believe several of them would have voted no if they'd felt safe doing so. If you can survive the initial assault, if you can show that humanity won't be easily defeated, the council alliance may fracture. Some species may break away, refuse to continue the war. Thexnor's support is not as solid as he believes. You're giving us hope, Chen said, and intelligence we can use. Why? Because I'm old enough to remember what happens when powerful civilizations become arrogant, Kriya replied. My species made that mistake once long ago. We believed our age and technology made us superior to everyone else. We tried to dominate our region of space. It took a devastating war to teach us humility. The council was supposed to prevent that kind of arrogance. Instead, we've become what we once fought against. Perhaps humanity is exactly what the galaxy needs. A reminder that might doesn't make right. That age doesn't equal wisdom. After the call ended, Chen sat in her office for a long time. Then she opened a channel to Admiral Okonkwo. We have intelligence on the Council's plans, she said. They're sending 3,000 ships to Earth. Arrival in 30 days. Okonkwo's face appeared on screen. She didn't look surprised. Our agents in Council space already sent warning. We knew they'd come for Earth eventually. It's what I would do in their position. Hit the heart, make the body die, and can we hold? Against 3,000 ships? Okonkwo leaned back in her chair. In open space, no chance. They'd overwhelm us through sheer numbers. But we're not fighting in open space. We're fighting in the Sol system, our home. Every asteroid, every moon, every orbital platform is a weapon. We've spent 20 years turning our entire star system into a fortress. They're bringing 3,000 ships. We're bringing 4 planets worth of industrial might and 8 billion very angry humans who remember what it means to fight for survival. So we can win? We can make them bleed, Okonkwo said. We can make them hurt so badly that they question whether victory is worth the cost. And if the Council fractures like your new friend suggests, we might not need total victory. We just need to survive long enough to make peace the more attractive option. Chen nodded slowly. Then we have 30 days to prepare for the biggest battle humanity has ever fought. We've been preparing for 20 years, Okonkwo replied. Now we find out if it was enough. Across Council space, the Armada began to assemble. 3,000 ships, the largest fleet gathered in 5,000 years. Species that had barely spoken to each other in centuries now coordinated their forces under unified command. Ancient warships were pulled from storage and refitted. New vessels were rushed through production. The Council marshaled everything it had. But while the Council prepared openly, humanity per the Council Armada arrived at the edge of the Sol system 30 days after the vote. Exactly on schedule. 3,000 warships from 47 species, representing 12,000 years of galactic civilization. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, a display of coordination that would have impressed any military strategist in the galaxy. Admiral Sarah Okonkwo watched them appear on her tactical displays from her command center deep beneath Luna's surface. She had spent the last month working 20-hour days, coordinating the defense of humanity's home system. Now the moment had arrived. Earth had evacuated all non-essential personnel to underground facilities. The orbital habitats were empty except for military personnel. Every weapon humanity had built in secret over 2 decades was armed and ready. They're even bigger than we expected, her tactical officer said quietly, looking at the massive capital ships at the center of the Council formation. Size doesn't win wars, Okonkwo replied. Determination does. Open a channel to all defense forces. It's time. Across the Sol system, thousands of men and women heard their commander's voice. Soldiers on Mars, engineers in the asteroid belt, pilots in stealth ships hiding among the debris of Saturn's rings, weapon operators on Luna's surface. All of them heard the same message. This is Admiral Okonkwo. The Council has come to our home. They believe their numbers and their ancient authority give them the right to dictate terms to humanity. They're wrong. Today we show them that Earth bows to no one. We fight not just for ourselves, but for every species in the galaxy who've been bullied into submission by those who mistake age for wisdom. Make every shot count. Make them pay for every meter they advance. And remember what we're defending. Our families. Our freedom. Our future. Let's send these bastards home. The Council fleet advanced slowly, methodically. They'd learned caution from the disaster at New Harmony. Their shields were modified to better handle kinetic weapons. Their formations were tighter, leaving less room for the aggressive hit-and-run tactics the humans had used before. They came prepared for war. What they found was beyond anything they'd prepared for. The asteroid belt opened fire first. Hundreds of hidden weapon platforms that had been disguised as mining equipment or simple rocks revealed themselves. Railguns fired in synchronized volleys, filling space with hypervelocity projectiles. The Council's improved shields helped, but the sheer volume of fire was overwhelming. Ships in the vanguard began taking damage immediately. Return fire, Thexnor commanded from the bridge of the flagship. Destroy those platforms. The Council fleet opened up with everything they had. Plasma cannons and particle beams lit up the darkness. Asteroid bases exploded under the bombardment. But for every platform destroyed, 2 more opened fire. The humans had spent years building these defenses, hiding them in plain sight while Council intelligence looked elsewhere. The fleet pressed forward, taking losses but maintaining momentum. They had numbers on their side. They could afford to trade ships for ground. Then Mars opened fire. The red planet's surface erupted with weapon emplacements. Massive railguns, each one the size of a building, fired shells that could punch through 3 council ships in a single shot. Laser arrays that had been built into Olympus Mons itself began tracking and destroying vessels at extreme range. The council's advance staggered. "They've fortified an entire planet," someone on Thexnor's bridge said in disbelief. How did we not detect this?" "Because they've been planning this for decades," Thexnor said bitterly. "They knew we'd come. They knew we'd underestimate them. Split the fleet. Half proceed to Earth, half deals with Mars. We can't leave that much firepower at our backs." The fleet divided. 1,500 ships moved toward Earth. 1,500 engaged the Martian defenses. And that's when Luna revealed its true purpose. The moon had always seemed peaceful, its surface dotted with human research stations and small settlements. Now that surface opened up, thousands of missile silos launched their payloads simultaneously. Not missiles with conventional warheads, nuclear-pumped X-ray lasers, each one a one-shot weapon of devastating power. The coordination was perfect. Hundreds of council ships died in the first salvo, their shields overwhelmed by concentrated fire that struck from completely unexpected angles. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Thexnor ordered. His flagship shuddered as a laser grazed their shields. How many weapons do they have? The answer was terrifying. More than enough. The humans had turned their entire home system into a weapon. Every moon, every large asteroid, every orbital platform had been converted into part of the defense network. And they were using them with brutal efficiency. The battle raged for hours. The Council fleet was dying, but it was also advancing. They pushed past the asteroid belt, trading ships for distance. They suppressed the Martian defenses through overwhelming firepower. They absorbed the Luna bombardment and kept coming. The human defenders fought like demons, but numbers were beginning to tell. Then Earth itself joined the fight. Weapon platforms that had been hidden in high orbit powered up. These weren't normal kinetic weapons. These were the result of 20 years of research into exotic physics. Antimatter warheads, zero-point energy beams, weapons that humanity had developed specifically for this moment. The flagship that Thexnor commanded took a direct hit from an antimatter torpedo. The ancient vessel, which had survived 3,000 years of service, ceased to exist in a flash of annihilating energy. Thexnor, the council representative who had demanded humanity's surrender, died instantly. With him went 4,000 crew members and 12,000 years of accumulated tactical knowledge. The council fleet reeled. Their commander was dead. Their casualties were approaching 40%. They'd expected to overwhelm a primitive species. Instead, they were being bled dry by an enemy that refused to break. "This is insane." Dalvik's voice came over the fleet communication system. He'd assumed command after Thexnor's death. "Pull back. All ships pull back to the edge of the system. We need to regroup." But Admiral Okonkwo wasn't letting them regroup. Human stealth ships that had been waiting for this moment emerged from hiding spots throughout the system. They hit the retreating council forces from behind, targeting engines and command ships. The orderly retreat became a rout. "Press the attack," Okonkwo commanded. "Make them pay for every light second." The council fleet jumped away in disorder, ships escaping individually rather than in formation. They'd come with 3,000 vessels. Less than 1,800 escaped. Over 40,000 council personnel were dead or captured. It was the greatest military disaster in recorded galactic history. In the command center beneath Luna, Okonkwo's staff erupted in cheers. They'd done it. They'd defended Earth against impossible odds. But Okonkwo didn't celebrate. She was reading casualty reports. 300 human ships destroyed. 15,000 personnel dead. Mars had taken significant damage. The asteroid belt defenses were shattered. They'd won, but the cost had been terrible. "Get me a channel to the council," she said quietly. It took an hour for the channel to be established. When it finally opened, Okonkwo found herself looking at Ambassador Kriya instead of a military commander. "The council's military leadership is dead or in disarray," Kriya said. "I've been appointed as emergency negotiator." "Admiral Okonkwo, on behalf of the surviving council members, I'm requesting an immediate ceasefire. You attacked our home," Okonkwo said flatly. "You came here to destroy us. Why should we accept a ceasefire?" "Because neither of us can afford to continue," Kriya replied honestly. "You've broken our fleet, but you've exhausted your defenses doing it. If we rallied our remaining forces and the species who abstained from the first vote, we could field another fleet in 6 months. But it would cost thousands more lives on both sides. The question is whether that cost serves any purpose. Okonkwo studied the alien ambassador for a long moment. What are you offering? Immediate recognition of all human colonies as legitimate sovereign territory. Full voting membership on the council, not observer status. Reparations for the damage caused to your system. And a formal apology from the council for our actions. That's not enough, Okonkwo said. We want more. What more could you possibly want? We're offering you everything you fought for. We want a guarantee, Okonkwo said. A guarantee that no other species will face what we faced. The council has been bullying younger civilizations for thousands of years. That ends now. Full membership and voting rights for any species that achieves interstellar travel. No more observer status. No more elder species making decisions for everyone else. Equal representation or no deal. Kriya was silent for several long moments. Then, surprisingly, she smiled. You could have asked for tribute. For territory. For dominance over your region of space. Instead, you're asking for justice for species you've never even met. Ambassador Chen was right about you. You don't just fight for yourselves. You fight for principles. Do we have a deal? I'll need to put it to a vote among the surviving council members. But yes, I believe you do. The council is broken, Admiral. What you've done today has shattered 12,000 years of established order. Some will hate you for